Welcome to Reminisce with Terry, and this month. The origins of the word April are uncertain. However, the Romans gave it the Latin name Aprilis from the verb meaning to open, a reference to the month of spring in the Northern Hemisphere. The Anglo-Saxons called April Estramones after the goddess Estra, which is the root word for Easter. April saw the sinking of the Titanic, the first manned flight into space, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., the fall of Saigon and the end to the Vietnamese War, and the Australian government finally acknowledging the tragedy of the stolen generations. Join me as we reminisce, won't you?
People were screaming and screaming, and then all was silent. The silence was terrible.
During the night and early morning of the 14th and 15th of April 1912, the unsinkable, majestic Titanic sank. The Titanic was an important ship for several reasons, including technological innovation. The Titanic was one of the most technologically advanced ships of its time, featuring many new design and engineering innovations. It was the largest and most luxurious ship ever built at the time and represented the pinnacle of early 20th century engineering. Symbol of progress. The Titanic was seen as a symbol of progress and the triumph of human achievement. Its construction and launch were widely celebrated as a testament to human ingenuity and innovation. Impact on transportation. The Titanic was part of a larger trend towards faster and more luxurious transatlantic travel. It demonstrated the potential of ocean liners as a means of transportation and paved the way for further advances in shipbuilding and travel. Historical significance. The sinking of the Titanic on its maiden voyage in 1912 was a major historical event that captured the world's attention. The tragedy highlighted the dangers of transatlantic travel and led to a number of changes in maritime safety regulations. Overall, the Titanic was an important ship that represented the cutting edge of early 20th century technology and engineering. Its legacy continues to be felt today in the fields of shipbuilding and ocean transportation. The sinking of the Titanic was caused by a combination of factors, including human error, design flaws, and natural circumstances. Here are some of the factors that contributed to the sinking. Collision with an iceberg. The Titanic struck an iceberg on the night of April the 14th, 1912, while sailing at high speed through an area of the North Atlantic known for its icebergs. The collision caused serious damage to the ship's hull, which led to its eventual sinking. Design flaws. Although the Titanic was a technological marvel, it had a number of design flaws that made it more vulnerable to sinking. For example, the ship's compartments were not completely watertight, and the watertight doors were not always closed properly, allowing water to flood the ship more quickly. Lack of lifeboats. The Titanic was equipped with lifeboats, but not enough to accommodate all of the passengers and crew on board. This meant that many people were left stranded on the ship and unable to escape. Human error. The crew of the Titanic made a number of mistakes that contributed to the disaster. For example, the lookouts failed to spot the iceberg until it was too late, and the captain did not slow the ship down enough to avoid a collision. Overall, the sinking of the Titanic was a tragic event that was caused by a combination of factors. It remains one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history and has a lasting impact on the way that ships are designed
Frank
and
Prentice,
operate.
then 18, climbed the steeply sloping deck. He perched on the stern of Titanic and looked down.
There was so much debris floating, and bodies, dead and alive, were all around there. So there were hundreds of them around the stern of that ship. They'd all seemed to drift down that way. They had two boards on the stern of the Titanic, which said, "Keep clear of propeller blades."
Many notable people were among the passengers and crew of the Titanic when it sank, and some of them lost their lives in the disaster. Here are some of the most famous people who died as a result of the sinking. John Jacob Astor IV, a prominent businessman and real estate developer. Astor was one of the richest men in the world at the time of the Titanic's sinking. He died in the disaster along with his wife Madeline, who was pregnant at the time. Benjamin Guggenheim. Guggenheim was a member of the wealthy Guggenheim family and a prominent businessman in the mining industry. He famously declined a place on a lifeboat, choosing to go down with the ship. Isidor Straus. Straus was a co-owner of the department store Macy's and a former congressman. He died in the disaster along with his wife Ida, who famously refused to leave his side and also went down with the ship. Archibald Butt. Butt was a military aide to US President William Howard Taft and had previously served as an aide to President Theodore Roosevelt. He was travelling on the Titanic as a personal guest of Taft and died in the disaster. Wallace Hartley. Hartley was the band leader of the Titanic's orchestra, which famously played music to calm passengers as the ship was sinking. He and his fellow band members continued to play until the ship sank, and all of them perished in the disaster. These are just a few of the many notable people who lost their lives in the sinking of the Titanic. The disaster had a profound impact on the world and continues to be remembered as one of the deadliest maritime tragedies in history. Yuri Gagarin was a Soviet Air Force pilot and cosmonaut who became the first human to journey into outer space on April 12, 1961. Gagarin was born on March 9, 1934 in the village of Kluzhino near Gzhatsk, now in Smolensk Oblast, Russia. He began his career as a foundry worker before joining the Soviet Air Force in 1955. Gagarin was selected for the Soviet space program in 1960, and on April 12, 1961, he piloted the Vostok 1 spacecraft into orbit around the Earth. The flight lasted 108 minutes, during which Gagarin orbited the Earth once, reaching an altitude of about 200 miles or 327 kilometres above the Earth's surface. Gagarin's historic flight made him an instant celebrity and a hero of the Soviet Union. He received numerous honours and awards, including the title of Hero of the Soviet Union and the Order of Lenin. Gagarin continued to work for the Soviet space program and was in training for another space mission when he died in a plane crash on March 27, 1968, at the age of 34. Yuri Gagarin's flight into space had a profound impact on the world, both in terms of the scientific advances it represented and its broader cultural significance. Here are some of the ways in which Gagarin's flight impacted the world. Space exploration. Gagarin's flight marked a major milestone in the history of space exploration, demonstrating that it was possible for humans to travel beyond the Earth's atmosphere and survive in space. This inspired new efforts in space exploration and led to a series of space missions, including the United States Apollo program. Cold War politics. At the time of Gagarin's flight, the United States and the Soviet Union were engaged in a tense rivalry known as the Cold War. Gagarin's successful mission was seen as a major victory for the Soviet Union and fueled further competition in the realms of space exploration and military technology. Cold War politics. At the time of Gagarin's flight, the United States and the Soviet Union were engaged in a tense rivalry known as the Cold War. Gagarin's successful mission was seen as a major victory for the Soviet Union and fueled further competition in the realms of space exploration and military technology. Global fascination. Gagarin's flight captured the imagination of people around the world who marvelled at the idea of a human being leaving the Earth and travelling into space. Gagarin became an international celebrity and a symbol of the possibilities of human achievement. Inspiration for future generations. Gagarin's flight inspired a generation of scientists and engineers, many of whom went on to work in the fields of space, exploration and aeronautics. Gagarin's legacy continues to inspire people around the world to continue to pursue careers in science and technology. Overall, Yuri Gagarin's flight into space had a profound impact on the world, demonstrating the potential of human achievement and sparking new advances in the fields of science and technology. Thank you for joining me at Reminisce with Terry. If you've enjoyed this episode of this month of April, please click on the like, press subscribe and share. I look forward to our next meeting at Reminisce with Terry.